Why are prayer warriors broke? This is a question I saw today on Facebook. And number one, I don't think all prayer warriors are broke here, but I understand where this question is coming from. I've served in church for quite some few years, yeah, and I can say that some of the most dedicated people who serve in church are broke, but not all of them, yeah. Some are broke, and I'd love to share my thoughts concerning this. The Bible say, my people perish for lack of knowledge, yeah. And I think people often, when you serve in ministry, there's this notion that says that, like on this extreme side of serving, where people say that I'm looking for the right words to put this, that God will provide. Yeah. So people often remove their effort from it. So they sit waiting for God to provide for them. And God actually provides, yeah. But he provides what you need, but you won't walk in abundance. Like you won't be able to, fulfill your financial destiny, let me call it like that, yeah, because you find that people tend to stick on one side, whereby you pray and pray waiting for miracles, and you pray, there's this notion that say the God of suddenly instant miracles. So you do the work of praying, but you neglect this other side, and this is the other side that I want to talk about. Yeah, there's a friend of mine who shared this concept with me. I have, in this life you go through a journey, and there's a point in time when I thought that probably it's hard work that pays more than even prayer. Because even, other people who are non-believers, you see them succeeding and they don't take so much time praying. But this friend of mine shared this with me. He told me that during that time when Moses was praying, that time when they were lifting his hands, and when they lifted his hands, they won the battle. And every time he put down his hand, they didn't win the battle. So he told me that two things need to happen for you to be successful. Number one, lifting your hands. That is a sign of prayer. You always have to lift your hands and pray to God, because the Bible says God is the one who blesses the work of our hands. Yeah. And number two, the battle was going on, so people were fighting. So we imagine if they decided to lift their hands without fighting, they wouldn't have won, and vice versa. So for us, I think as believers, the lack of knowledge aspect is that God expects us, to pray at the same time to work. I know we are currently living in a generation whereby people say there is no employment, but so there's something called scarcity mentality. Scarcity mentality teaches you to see less. You don't see in abundance. You see what is lacking. You don't see what is already there and provided for. I think the reason why I love the topic of learning to hear God's voice is so that you can always inquire of the Lord. Yeah, like for instance, you can inquire of the Lord, what is it that I can do right now that is able to help other people, at the same time put some money in my pocket. Yeah. And I think this is important. Like, you remember Moses, before he was called to go to Egypt to fight, God asked him, what do you have in your hands? And he had a stick, and that is a stick that God was able to use. Yeah. So I think the journey of learning to grow financially, learning to have something that you can earn a living from, because I don't think it's God's will for people to be broke. I think sometimes, okay, I know there are seasons, but I think sometimes we struggle because we lack the knowledge. And sometimes I know you're going through a wilderness season, yeah, so that's just complicated like that. But sometimes you struggle because you lack knowledge. And one thing that you can do to go is go before God and say, God, what is this thing that I can do that is able to bless other people, at the same time put some money in my pocket? And then you do the next step. So you do that, and God says He's going to bless the work of your hands. And you also have to be diligent. Yeah, be diligent with what God has given you. Give it your best. Give it your all. Work with all diligence, as if you're working for God, and trust that God is going to provide. God is going to bring people who are going to buy whatever, to buy your goods and your services. Yeah. So prayer warriors are not broke. Some are not broke, but some are broke. And the reason why they're broke is probably because of some teaching they've been taught, wrong doctrine in church, wrong belief system, which causes them to be stuck. Yeah. So thank you.